Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Liverpool. It finished Liverpool 3, Leicester City 0 at Anfield after the horrible international break we've had over the past weeks. One where, honestly, there wasn't much good football when they were friendlies. The fact that they're playing friendlies in such a frantic kind of fixture congestion is crazy, but that's for another topic of conversation for another one. As well as from a Liverpool perspective, obviously lots of injuries and COVID-related stuff, which hasn't helped us out. The notable ones being Joe Gomez's injury and obviously Mohamed Salah having to quarantine back in Egypt for picking up coronavirus. But it was great to have Premier League football back. It was good to have a full suite of games over this weekend. It was great to see, all the players and all the teams back in their kits, with the managers back on form, and all the good fun stuff with VAR as we always have every week. And last time we played on a Sunday evening, things didn't go so well. Things didn't turn out so well, and that was against Aston Villa. So I was hoping this time round that wasn't going to be a bad omen for us. But this time we had a bit of a point to prove. We were at home. We had our backs against the wall because of the injuries. And I think that really showed in the performance and the way we played, the goals we scored. Everyone has been writing us off throughout the international break, and ever since really that Everton game where Virgil van Dijk got injured, and there's no way Liverpool can be up there with the injuries they've got. They've lost such a big part of their team. Now Salah's having to quarantine. Everyone and their dog is writing Liverpool off, and it was something that you could see throughout the game in the way we played, the intensity we played with, that both Klopp and the players still firmly believe in our quality and our skills, and the fact that we will be up there towards the tail end of the season in terms of challenging for the title, along with some of the other teams who are doing very well. Big shout out to Tottenham. They seem to be on a madness at the moment. Harry Kane seems to be crazy, but this performance against Leicester for me was very much a marker and a statement and a message to the rest of the Premier League from Jurgen Klopp and his players that we won't be going quietly anywhere. If anyone thinks that we're just going to slide down the Premier League now because we're missing, our first choice two centre-backs, then that is, that a lesser team that may happen to, but, the way Klopp thinks and the way he's got his players thinking, those types of things are only going to spur us on to succeed, in spite of all of that adversity. But in terms of the starting lineup, it was great to see Fabinho back. I think the international break came at a really good time from him based on the kind of injury he had, and luckily, touch wood, his injury wasn't too severe, and hopefully we don't see a flare up of that, because he's going to have to play a centre back over the the next couple of games. Also really good. I was really excited to see in the midfield the addition of Curtis Jones and Naby Keita. Curtis Jones, just because he is a great talent. We've seen bits and bobs of him this season, but it's great to see him back in the team because he really is a great prospect. And then also Naby Keita, someone who's we know we can talk for a long time about how he struggled with injuries all throughout his in his career at Liverpool, but it was great to see him back. He hasn't really featured too much apart from right at the beginning of the season, so I was excited to see what he was going to do. Unfortunately for him, he had to go off before the end of the game. Don't know the extent of the injury as of recording this, but that is a real shame, because I think he's someone that he just needs extended time in the team. He can't come in and make an instant impact. He's just not that type of player. So really unfortunate for him to have to go off again, but we'll wait to see how serious that may be. The game started off in the first half as I probably expected it to start off, given how Leicester played against Manchester City earlier in the season, where they got such a great positive result. They had many men behind the ball. They were very organised with their three at the back, almost becoming a five at the back, with the two wing backs as well. And we were finding it tough to break through them. They were defending pretty deep as well, so there wasn't much space in behind for those long balls from the back or down the side. And we were kind of finding it hard to break them down. And it led to a kind of a two-couple things. It really led to Robertson really pushing up on the left-hand side and almost kind of matching the left wing-back position that Mark Albright was playing, and really pushing him back into that back five for them. And also it led to Firmino coming quite deep. It's something that he kind of naturally does, but when he's not so good when he kind of just stands in that number 9 position when it's so deep, because he gets crowded out, he doesn't get the ball so much, and he's a player that we need to get on the ball, because he is one of our creative players, and he can make things happen for the likes of Mane and Jota, who are making those runs from outside to in. But we'll talk a bit more about that later on. Well, set pieces, you probably wouldn't have guessed would have been where our first goal would have come from. Many people have said, and even I feel that obviously our greatest threat from set pieces in Virgil van Dijk is obviously gone now. But I still think we are a pretty good force from set pieces, particularly Joel Matip. His aerial ability in the opposition box doesn't really get talked about too much, but the ball always seems to kind of get attracted to him, and he scored some really, really good headers for us as well. But the first goal came in kind of really bizarre circumstances. It was kind of just a very normal, average corner into the box from James Milner, and Johnny Evans was kind of busy wrestling with Sadio Mane. He wasn't really paying attention to where the ball was and kind of hit him on the wrong side of the head. And because he was so close to Kasper Schmeichel pretty much had no chance to save it. And we went 1-0 up, and it was kind of very much, it wasn't against the run of play, but it was very much not how you would have expected Liverpool to take the lead. After that, I expected a bit of a reaction from Leicester City. There was a couple of chances. Harvey Barnes had a chance which he flashed wide. But other than that, they didn't really change anything in terms of the way they played, which allowed us to continue to control the game. We had a lot of the possession, passing it around, and not really creating too many chances, but just keeping control of the ball and not really looking at any, really looking at any kind of threat of Leicester getting back into the game. And as a result of that, we were kind of just we could play the way we wanted, but without the pressure of it being 0-0 and trying to get that opening goal, which really freed up the players. And that, for me, I think led to the second goal, which we got before the half-time whistle, which I think was really, really important. I think if we had gone in 1-0 at half-time, I think Brendan Rodgers would have very much been to his players. It's 1-0 down. We're still in this game. We've got Jamie Vardy, Harvey Barnes up front. These two can easily pace past Fabinho and Matip. All it takes is one mistake. But that second goal was huge. One, because it was a fantastic cross and an even better finish from Diogo Jota, who had an absolutely fabulous first half, and I'll talk a little about that later. But it was a great play, a great ball out from Curtis Jones, switched from right to left. Great bit of touch around Albrighton from Andy Robertson, and then a fantastic cross and a fantastic header. Diogo Jota was, and the way he played, I was really, really impressed with the last season, and maybe even the season before. In the games where Mo Salah hasn't played, we've kind of really seemed to struggle with that one threat in behind and looking as kind of potent as we normally do with Mo Salah. But I think Jota did... He did it so amazingly in the first half, and I think he deserved everything he got in terms of his goal. He was making those runs in between both the left wing back and the kind of left-sided centre-back, as well as in between the left-sided centre-back and the central centre-back. And those runs that he's making in between those defenders are the ones that cause the problems. The defenders don't know, whether to come out and stop Milner getting the ball in behind him, or whether to stay with Jota. And those kind of runs from out to in have become so, the way Liverpool play, and often when Salah doesn't play, that part of our game is not as good as it normally is, but that wasn't the case today, and that for me was all down to Diogo Jota just really understanding his task and the role in the team, and understanding how Salah plays and how, because of the way Salah plays, how that complements the whole team and the balance of the team. So I thought he was absolutely fantastic and outstanding in the first half. And then we went into the second half, and I was before I talk about us, I was really, really disappointed in Leicester. They didn't really up the pressure, up the tempo, and we were just able to pretty much control the second half as we wanted. We created a number of chances. Sadio Mane with a couple of strikes at goal. Bobby Firmino doing Bobby Firmino things and nearly scoring and not scoring. I think he was 1 centimetre away from scoring. The ball was cleared on the line. And yeah, we could have scored many, many more goals. But it took a corner for us to get our third goal. It was a good cross in, and then Bobby Firmino rose above, made it 3-0. It was great for him to get a goal. You could see how ecstatic everyone, from the management to all the players, were that Bobby Firmino got his goal. It's super important that Bobby Firmino feels like he's still contributing. I know some of the talk around, is Firmino contributing, where are his goals, etc., does get to him. So it's important to make sure for his own sanity that he still feels like he's contributing to the team. And after that, pretty much the game was over. Leicester didn't really make any chances. Alisson had probably the quietest game he's probably had in a long, long time. We haven't kept many clean sheets this season at all. So that was a really, really great positive win for the back five. The back five, obviously, in terms of getting that clean sheet, I think we did really, really well. But I think today our midfield was really, really good. They won't get talked about a lot because they didn't do anything crazy. No crazy assists, no fantastic play. But I think both Gini and Curtis Jones were absolutely fabulous today. There was a reason in the game you didn't really hear Maddison, or Tielemans in the game at all. And that was because, one, we bossed it in midfield, and two, when they did get the ball, both Gini and Curtis and Naby Keita, when he was on as well, did really, really well to just close down all of that space and angles and close the ball into the strikers, which is the one that always Maddison and Tielemans are looking for, in behind to Jamie Vardy. So I think they were really, really raw. They covered really well. They pressed really well. Gini obviously wasn't really playing in his normal position as well. We often see him kind of on the left of the three, where he was playing at the base of the three with Jordan Henderson out. And that's exactly what we need from him. Henderson probably might be out for another couple of weeks. So that's the exact type of performance you want to see from Gini. I was a bit critical of him after the Man City game, but he showed to me again, how important he is to the team. I don't understand what, all this stuff about people wanting him to go or whatever. He's a fantastic player. He's been a great player for Liverpool, and he showed again in this game, for me at least, why he's so important to the team and the qualities he has. So now we'll move on to the player of the match, and this was really tough for me. There were lots of players up there. I had Fabinho in there just because he kept everything quiet. I had Milner in there because I think he deputised in that kind of that Trent Alexander-Arnold role really, really well in terms of how creative he was for the team. But I've decided to go and give it to Diogo Jota, and that is mainly because of what I talked about earlier in terms of mirroring a Mo Salah performance. That performance that he had was about as good and as close as anyone could ask for. Not that I'm trying to compare Jota and Salah, but for the same reasons I talked about earlier in terms of that part of our games looked missing when Salah hasn't been in our team, but Jota continuing the great form that he's had since the beginning of the season when we really started getting introduced into the Liverpool team, and then scoring as well today, making chances, helping us break from the back when we were under a little bit of pressure. All of that type of stuff was absolutely fantastic, and he's fitted into our style really, really well, and he's just given Klopp another option, and I think that's just exactly the reason he was brought into the team. And for me, so far, he is the purchase of the season. He has proved from minute one his worth. He's 23 years old as well, so he's still got a lot of improvement left as well. But he's just continuing to show how important he is and justifying every penny we paid for him. And then finally, guys, the shout out to Klopp to end the episode. And this is an interesting one. And I talked about him in terms of my option for a player of the match. But for me, it was the shout out to Klopp is around keeping James Milner at right back. So I think there might have been a tendency to put Nico Williams in, but I think he had a bit of an injury anyway. But it kept Trent at right back and kept Milner at right back, and it was really good to see Milner there in terms of his creativity, in terms of his energy and working back as well, and helping. I think there was a reason why we kept a clean sheet, and I think he was a part of that as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Klopp rotates those two right back options, whether he keeps Milner or whether he rotates with Nico Williams. But it was a fantastic performance overall and great to see Liverpool back. But thank you guys for listening to this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Catch you